between the wilderness and traveling in it versus when you're in town or shopping is the fact that you're in danger. And I think the best way to simulate danger in a role-playing game is by adding random encounters, or at the very least, adding encounters. Now, how you add encounters in your wilderness exploration game is up to you. You might be doing it via random encounter table, or you might be doing it via authored encounter, or you might be doing it through some mixture of the two. When we were writing a haunted house for the second issue of my digital magazine, The Broadsheet, we wrote this, and I'm pretty proud of it. This here is the haunting system for our haunted house. Every turn, every 10 minutes, you roll a d8. And on this table, you have a bunch of events. And we want it to be every 10 minutes, so it'll be after every dungeon turn. Go check out our video on dungeon turns. And whenever you get one of these result, something fairly minor happens. So, for example, you get 5 object slam. Then we go over to object slam over here, and there's a read aloud text. A small object from one end of this room lifts into the air. For a moment, it just hovers there, waiting, and then it flies directly at you. Dex save, DC 13, 2d4 bludgeoning damage. It's just a little thing. It's a little spooky thing, and, importantly, it taxes your hit points. Or it might. If you succeed the roll, you take no damage. So it is a bit of danger. Now, the thing that makes hauntings different than typical random encounters is this section right here. Anytime you roll a result on the haunting table that has already been rolled this adventure, you instead trigger a phantom event. And it says here, a phantom event, it starts with a momentary reprieve, right? The phantom appears before the party and studies them for 1 round. During this time, a character can mollify the phantom by either giving her the silver locket or by playing My Beating Heart from page 13, page 9. And then, if mollified, the phantom leaves. If not, and then there's a list of worse things that can happen. I'm going to move my noggin here. Observe the list of worse things. There's a deathly wail, whole bunch of damage. It could kill you. Animating object, possession. And then finally the phantom fury, page 26. You click on that button and it takes you, hang on, that's a broken link. Sorry, it's supposed to take you here, page 24. Well, oops. And it's got this stat block for the phantom, and depending on how many scarabs, how much you've done of the dungeon, the phantom is scarier. My point being that putting stakes into the adventure, lose conditions, bits that you play through, and make the dungeon more scary, makes it feel more intense, makes you want to run through the dungeon faster, take more risks, because you're not waiting on DM fiat, or you're not thinking, oh, we're progressing the plot, therefore the DM's going to be nice to us, but you've now attached the system to it. And by attaching a system to it, you've made it so that it's a part of the foundational narrative of everything that we're doing together. And I think that's sort of the strength of a random encounter, and I think that's what's going to make random encounters and make wilderness exploration feel better. So, welcome to Mystic Arts. My name is Daði. I'm a professional writer and director, and I have, over the past half a year, been working on an adventure module called Crown of the Fungal Queen. And it has been this sort of introduction to Atroxia, introduction to how I want to show people hexploring adventures, like where you go do hexploration, exploring like hex crawls, where you go through dungeon crawling. I want to introduce people to firearms, to my setting. We've been pulling out all the stops, so we've done a whole bunch of live streams about it. This is one of those live streams. And we have commissioned a whole bunch of art. I think something like 40 pieces of art, maybe more. I'll have to do a final tally when we're done. There's a crap load of them. And that's not counting the maps I'm making. This might be the biggest, I think it definitely is the biggest RPG project I've ever undertaken, unless you were to compile all the broadsheets into one. Which case that would win. But this is, woof, this is intense. It's a lot of work. And we've been doing it here with you in chat, and we've been talking through the process of how we're making it. And we've been making dungeons together. We've been making the hex map together. So let me real quick catch you up on where we left off last time we talked about this. Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. I'll catch up with chat in a little bit. I'm just going to do a little bit of bookkeeping. This here is the hex map we made together. And if I now go here, And I can show you this here is the town map we all made together. And I've done a whole bunch of stuff since. All of this is art in various stages of completion. I'm going to show you a few select pieces here. Let's start with this bit of Dilhorn. Look at that. That is the town of Dilhorn as rendered by our in-house artist, Brimrún. She's making these sort of log cabin houses, all these typical sort of western-y kind of frontier Americana. And there's a train running through with these gorgeous, gorgeous trees in the background. She's also done the pre-made characters. The adventure is going to start with pre-made characters. Here's two of them. This one is the Orc Ranger. I think that's super dope looking character. We thought it was important that each of the characters would be gender agnostic, basically, so that if you pick up this character, you could decide whether or not this is a boy or a girl. There's hopefully nothing about the picture that is too specific on what gender they are, so that you might be able to just pick that yourself. Here's a druid, one of the pre-made characters that's going to come with the adventure. And it's not just Brimrún who's working on it. We've contacted other artists. We've contacted two other people. Ali from Arcane Affinity has rendered for us Amberlane. If you remember making this wizard dungeon with me on stream, here is the amber-covered tower. Look at the glow of the crystals. How cool is that? And then there's also this. Hang on, no, this is one of Brimrún's. This is the giant's corpse. I think it's just super beautiful. This is probably like a titan or something. It's so big. Oh no! Oh no! And what else we got? This fairy dragon. Look at that. That's Muffin. This is AB's fairy dragon from our main campaign, Kingmaker. It's a fairy dragon called Muffin, so named because she likes eating muffins. What else do we have? Oh, there is, if you go to the Rat Dungeon, Rat Home, which was one of the first ones we all made together, there's an opportunity to adopt a rat man. Here's that rat man. Look at this guy. Look at how cool he is. He's a little business rat. He's a little business rat. And obviously, there are also bad rats, and not the video game. And if I click on this button, look at that. These are the rat vermin. How cool are they? They're like feral. They're like beast versions of those characters. I think that's awesome. And we've been talking about like how we're gonna do the cover. We've done, so the Dilhorn piece is going to be a whole piece, and if you remember, before you clicked on this video, you saw the thumbnail of Canopy's Breach, a tower, sort of hidden underneath the text random encounter. I hid it in there. And then we're thinking, how are we going to do the cover for this? And I was telling Brimrún, I don't know, but I've been thinking a lot about, there was this video by Super Geek Mike where he was talking about the problem with like D&D covers is that they never show a party on the cover. Like the 4E cover has 2 characters. The 3rd edition has obviously no characters. The second AD&D's got this one dude on a horse. And a huge bonus for the new edition of the game is that they've got a whole D&D party on the cover. And I thought we should do that. We should figure out a way to do that. And it should somehow be, it's about hexploring. It's about going through hex crawls. And it should somehow tell you about what kind of people this is. You know, cowboy-y, Lewis and Clark-esque. And it should have action in it. But everyone looked at me and was like, okay, do you have references? And I was like, I could see this in my head. Hang on, let me just go outside and I'll grab some props I have around the house and I'll pretend to, I'll take pictures and I'll make it be the cover. And this is what I came up with. So this is me in various outfits in like downtown Reykjavik in one of the public parks there, and I've got on my old deer hunter hat, and I've got my player's hex map from our Kingmaker adventure, and I'm sort of looking at it as the one character who doesn't know that they're being ambushed by an ankeg right now, and then the whole party's back here, including this one character who's going to go rush to get the guy out of cover, or get the guy to help join the fight. Obviously, this isn't going to be the cover, but Brim's going to take a look at this. She now understands what's in my head, and she's going to go replace these dudes with some version of the pre-made characters, and probably replace the Ankeg with some kind of monster that we're going to come up with tonight. I just, I mean, how much fun is too much fun, right? I should stop having fun at some point. I feel like I'm getting away with something. So hang on, I've shown you everything I want to show you right now. Obviously, we're going to leave a whole bunch of stuff for the actual finished product whenever we're done with it. Can this be the special edition cover? I might include this as a downloadable in the post. Yeah, that might be fun. Yeah, have a little drinky poo. And I was thinking about what to do tonight, and I thought we might go make the hex map. I started experimenting with dungeon draft because I'm not really happy with the look of this map. This map right here. I think it looks pretty bad. I think it's perfectly fine for him. I think it's perfectly fine for your home game. But for like a product that I want to have a bit of a wow factor to, and I'm getting all this art done, and then the maps are going to be my responsibility. And I thought, well, I gotta put some more juice into this. So I started experimenting with 2-minute tabletop and stuff like that. But I'm not sure how the licenses and those things work. So I'm gonna have to go reach out to the. I'm gonna go have to do some research and figure out how that works. So we can't do that tonight. So instead, I thought we'd do random encounters because we had a meeting, me and Magnus, and he started outlining his share of the dungeons. We split them between us, and he came back and had a list of 5 dungeons, I think. And we talked about how we're going to go do that sort of moving forward, because he's going to have to write some of them, and I'm going to have to write some of them, and then I'm going to have to do the maps and the random encounters. And then, obviously, we've got other folks with the art. I think Brimland's also... No, AB. AB is also going to do more art. I genuinely think it's going to be 60 pieces of art when we're done. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. So, oh yeah, Atrium, I agree. We'll make sure that it's readable. I think the main thing is just I want it to be... I want it to have a little bit of a jazz hands, a little bit of wow factor, but not a lot. So I've been thinking how to do random encounters, and me and Magnus talked about how we wanted to divide the adventure, and I think we settled on 5 or 6 chapters. Let's see. The chapters are introduction, as in like, hello, this is an adventure. Gex tribe. So the first thing you do in the adventure is you go through the Gex tribe dungeon. You could skip that if you want to go straight to town, but we firmly believe that you should start in the middle of the action, and you should start your players with stuff to do already. So if you haven't run Gex Tribe, I think that's just perfect, a great way to do it. Then, Dilhorn. Once you do Gex Tribe, you go to Dilhorn. You go into town, and we're going to have a gazetteer of the town. So here's location A, location B. Here's Cook's house. Here's the Thirsty Woodsman, Gibby's shop. All these things we came up with together. Chapter 3. Then we're going to do the East Ashwood, the West Ashwood, and the Swamp. So if I go back to this map, East Ashwood here on this side, West Ashwood here on this side, and then in the middle there is the Stinky Stinky Swamp. And I think we need to have those all be separate random encounters. Or random encounter tables. I think they need to feel like different tables. So that it's not just like, oh, you're traveling, here's a list of random encounters. They should have like their own sort of possible encounters. I think it'd be weird if you fought rats while you were in the swamp. You know what I mean? So, thinking about it, I think that's the way to go. Eastwood, Westwood, Bad Swamp. And then there's the appendix. And obviously, you might, depending on how big a dungeon is, you might end up doing a special like wandering monster table in there. But that should just be like roll a d6. Here are some of the monsters in the dungeon. I think that's plenty. Yeah, it's going to be levels 1 through 5. We talked a lot about it. I didn't want to make a decision here on stream, but me and Magnus finally had a chat about it. And that's right, Senator Westwood. Yeah. We talked a lot about it, and we decided 1 through 5 because we thought about a fun way to do level ups. And we are now experimenting with that idea, and we'll see how it turns out. But the idea is that the players all have their own way to level up. So we talked about, remember that video we did about milestone versus XP? We talked about the keystones in there. And we thought, what if we just come up with, not like a keystone system, but we do something similar. We just do one specific, like each character, if you do this one thing, you get to level up. We thought that would be the way to go. Magnus Geving? No, my friend Magnus, who writes with me. Emil Moose. Emil, did we go to film school together? Are you one of the funniest screenwriters in the world? I think you are. Rodents of unusual size. Yeah, that'd be fun. We could do rodents of unusual size. So I think our goal today should be to come up with different random encounter tables for the Eastwood, the Westwood, the Bat Swamp, and then maybe one for Dilhorn as well. I've been in your dungeon. Yeah. That's Emil. Everybody say hi to Emil. Should we do a special table in Dilhorn? So we thought about, instead of doing like a random encounter table, we thought about just doing an authored encounter table in Dilhorn. So, I'm a firm believer in different tools for different jobs. I don't think we need the same kind of encounter table every time. I don't think we need the same kind of encounter lists every time. And I don't think we need to have a formula and stick to it for the sake of one. So we talked about it. We talked about just doing 4 triggered events for Dilhorn, and they just escalate. Just the first one, and the second one, third one, fourth one, because we're not trying to simulate it being dangerous to take a long rest in Dilhorn. We're just trying to make sure there's stuff going on. So I think it has a different job. Therefore, it's a different tool. Flapjack's Attack asks, how do you make random encounter tables that prompt roleplay without chasing story plot points? Do you have a rule of thumb? I don't know. I think you just make like a weird thing. I think the best kind of random encounters that prompt roleplay are the ones that aren't self-explanatory. They're kind of weird. No. Had you all seen the Beaver of Knowledge, by the way? Had I shown you the Beaver of Knowledge? Should we do one more art break before we get to work? One more art break, right? I think I showed you the Beaver of Knowledge last time. This is not a finished piece. This is still work in progress. But everyone would want me to say there's still some line art and stuff on here. Show us the beaver. The people demand it. Beaver. That has got to be the biggest beaver any of you have ever seen. Don't take me out of context. I don't know what he's wearing. We got to figure out what that is. I have no idea. I like the little party that's there. This tiefling cracks me up as they're just sort of going, huh? Hi, Mechanical Superiority. So here we do. Hang on. I can't go to work yet. Stand by. What am I missing? Ah, Dungeon Guy.
Daði the Dungeon Guy.
Daði the Dungeon Guy.
Daði the Dungeon Guy.
Subscribe today at D&D Rules.
Daði the Dungeon Guy.
Welcome back to Smash
Clearly
Attack.
agile, sneaky, intelligent, powerful. I'm on the bed already.
T-minus 5 seconds.
Daði the Dungeon Guy.
So I've opened up here in Obsidian this little document, different document than the one we've been using so far, mostly because I already sent it to Magnus and I don't want to add changes into it. And we're just going to make a 2d6 table. Now, 2d6 may be the wrong tool for this. I don't know. We'll probably have to just sort of feel it out. But the reason I like 2d6 is because it creates a bell curve. It gets us a shape, mathematically, of likeliness. The likeliest result you can get on 2d6 dice is a 7. And then the next most likely is either an 8 or a 6. 7, 8, or 6. And then on it goes. And it is less than a percentage chance on 2d6 that you get a 2 or a 12. So that is a useful tool for us if we like the idea of having there be really, really scary stuff on the random encounter table. And having that really scary stuff be possible, but incredibly unlikely. Like catastrophically unlikely. But it could happen. I did in my main campaign, in Kingmaker Everlasting, there was a massive hexcrawl map, and I did a 2d8 table, and I had the players roll. I always have them roll, or I try and roll in front of them. I had them roll this time, and two different players rolled an 8, so it was a 16 max result, and a giant, ancient red dragon showed up, and obviously I didn't have the dragon immediately roll initiative and wipe the party, but that was really cool. They were like, "Oh, there is a dragon in this area. The dragon can show up." Bow to the dragon. Hope and pray. Good fun. Great fun. Alternatively, instead of doing 2d6 and come up with 11 possible encounters, we could just have there be a d8. And have 8 be the weakest. No, 1 be the weakest, 8 be the strongest, and then have there be sort of a linear scale. Hang on, this button. And that would look a little more like that. We'll just go 1 and up. And then we don't put a giant red dragon on here. Then we just have all of the encounters be fairly normal, fairly balanced. But they're all equally likely to happen. And then they're all kind of basically the same. Or we could go the 2d6 route, and we have it go from 2 to 3, 4. And we put in some crazy nonsense on the table. So I think we should just do a poll. Which do you guys like the idea of? 2d6 or 1d8? And I'll put a little poll in. Baltic Sonata, yeah, 2d8 for a bell curve is great. But we're gonna make 3 of these tonight, so I don't think we're gonna go for 15, 30, 40, 45 options. That seems like a lot. I don't think we're gonna come up with 45 good ideas tonight. Hell, I'm anxious that we're not gonna come up with 36 good ideas. Wow. Look at that poll. All right. It seems highly unlikely that we are going to do anything other than 2d6. Have you used any dice before? Yes. I am not terribly proficient at it, but it is fantastic for figuring out these kinds of probabilities. We use it a lot when we're homebrewing mechanics, monsters, especially classes. Magnus is really good at sort of getting the different graphs and trying to figure out average damages, comparing them to, fighters with certain feats or without certain feats, and then seeing where these things lie. We used them quite aggressively when we were doing the firearms rules, trying to figure out where they were. 2d4? We could do 2d4. I just don't like d4 dice. Am I the only one on this? I don't like holding them. They're weird shapes. They're odd. If you roll a dragon encounter twice, is it the same dragon or a rival dragon? We'll probably have it be if we do a dragon, we'll probably have that be the same dragon. And we'll write an encounter section for it. Alright. I'm going to call the poll in 3, 2... Actually, before I call the poll, I should mention, we are doing a contest. And the poll, like the forum on Google for this contest is closing tonight, at the end of this stream. So if you want to take part in Dungeon Mayhem and you want your adventure to show up in the module, you can click the top link in the description and get apply to the contest. And if so, there are 5 dungeons that are available for it: Grimroot, Brewing Cabin, Abandoned, Mine, Library, and Naiad's Rest. The winner for each 5 of those gets a handful of things in return. They get to keep the rights to the dungeon, including the map and the art that we use, and they get to sell it on their own if they want, but they give us permission to use it in our module. The winners get a year of Mystic Expert on our Patreon, an hour-long meeting with me to talk about DMing or game design, YouTube, whatever you want to talk about. And then we'll commission a piece for it, and we'll make a map for it. And you'll get credited and a shout-out in an upcoming video. Go click the top link in the description. You have another 60 minutes at most, maybe 90. Emil, tack Hella. Tack för det, Emil. Fist bump emoji. Oh yeah. Gaman att se dig. Vi þurfum að tala saman. Långt sedan senast. D4s are odd. Yeah, exactly. Very exciting. All right, we're going to shut the poll. It is spelled N-A-I-A-D. I think I just saw someone say N-I-A-D in chat, and I just wrote that in on autopilot. Daði, that's not my name. My name isn't spelled like that. Horned rat. It's spelled like this. That's a D. It's a D with a line in it. Can I write a whole dungeon in 60 minutes? Only one way to find out. Be the change you want in the world. Alright. Here we go. So, East Forest, West Forest. East Forest, West Forest. Are 8 encounters enough? Maybe not. But Erodos, we're not going to do 8 encounters. We're going to do 8 different kinds of encounters. If you watched our video on random encounters, you would know that the way I do random encounters is I use them as prompts. So, for example, let's just get started so we can talk about our specific examples here. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, that's cool. That's cool, Mitchell. And thanks for the gift. Roll for initiative. Are those the ones that sort of curve in on themselves? I'd be curious to. Could you link to them on the Discord so I can have a look? Put the dragon. Put the dragon. So let's say. What should the most common kind of encounter be in the forest? Should it be rat? Meanwhile, the rat. I think it probably is rat, isn't it? Alternatively, it could be orcs. Sacred Grunty. Good job. Get there on time. Boars. Crows, spiders, elves. No. I think, so we're doing the West Forest, right? East Forest. Oh, we're doing the East Forest. Okay. That's an easier example. This is the East Forest. In here we have our Druid Grove. We have the incorrectly spelled Naiad's Rest. We have kobolds, undead, and then we have this. Let's talk about the West first. I think it's a better example. What is the most... No, let's talk about the East. Sorry. Do you know I have ADHD? So this here, the most common type of encounter is probably something from the swamp. Fungal wanderers. That's right, Sacred Grunty. That is 100% correct. So, at 7, fungal wanderers. Wanderers. And then what we do, we say here what that is, right? So, so the fungal queen's agents have emerged from the swamp and are hunting for new bodies for their growing army. And we still haven't written down what kind of monsters it is. Because then what we can do is we can go, I clicked the button. We can go, no, and counter 1. And then we write something there. You know what I mean? X myconids plus fungal warrior, or whatever the stat blocks end up being, right? I am confusing East and West. Yeah, I am. Hang on, East. Yes, sorry, West. There we go. Now what we do is we just make a bunch of these. And then we can go, whenever you roll this encounter, go down a step. Down, right? So now, Fungal Wanderers is a category of type of encounter. The most common type of encounter. I'm good, Valor. Hang on, the Valor. Okay, you guys are fucking with me. You know, and then you go, don't I know you, Valor? No, maybe I'm confused. Maybe, maybe I just know everybody. Hello, everybody. How you doing? So here you go, something else. And here you go, big fungal monstrosity, and we can even do a special rule in here. Actually, let's do it as a... If you get this result twice in a row, so not just the second time ever you roll it, because then you go down to encounter 2, but if you get this particular one twice in a row, fight the Fungal Knight. Remember, I don't know if you watched all of these, you're sort of coming at the end of the series, but I'm going to try and catch you up as we go along. The main bad guy of the adventure is that there's a knight that gets infected with the cordyceps spores of a bad guy made of mushrooms. And this is Izaria, the fungal queen. And she puts these cordyceps mushrooms into a random knight, rises him up as a knight, and he goes trundling around the wild. And here, in this encounter, if you roll doubles, if you get Fungal Warrior twice, you get him. Right? Is the big mushroom monster from Wave Splitter SRD? It might be. It might be. Let me go... We can go look at the SRD real quick. If you're not familiar with homebrew design, there are certain monsters in D&D that are in public access. They're called Creative Commons. That is the SRD, the system reference document. Whether or not I can reference that particular rule depends on whether or not it is in the SRD. So I am limited I'm limited by the technology of my time. Fungal. Fungus. Shrieker fungus is here. I think it's called a necro hawk. Necro. No, it's not. So we'll have to make up our own. We'll probably have to violet. Violet fungus is here. A medium plant. AC5. Alright. We'll probably have to make up our own, like, mushroom monsters. That's fine. We can make up our own set of mushroom monsters for this. Yeah, so here we'll go. Big fungal monstrosity. Here we can go fungal caster plus fungal mooks. You know, you get the picture, right? Is this not a huge amount of encounters? We're not going to do this many for all of them because you have, I think, a 12% chance, 18% chance of getting a 7. You're going to have less than a % chance of getting a 12. Strolas, my favorite class is Wizard because it is the closest to being the Dungeon Master. And I like being the Dungeon Master. Yes. So now that we've gotten this out of the way, we've said, hey, by the way, guys, if we get consecutives, yeah, Mike and Insar, that's not the, we're gonna have to invent our own here. That's how it is. Thanks for shouting it out. Saves me from going down a rabbit hole later. Isn't it 3%? It's 1 in 36. It is not 1 in 36. That's the thing. Here it is. 2d6. It is 1.78% chance. But you're going to get a 16% chance of getting the middle result, or almost 17%. So it is 1 in 36. You're right. Are you right? I don't know. I don't know math. I'm a writer. But it is significantly less likely. So, Demon Cookie, you know, if we are, how many times, you know what I mean? So, hang on. We are 5 times likelier to get the middle result than we are to get the bottom or top result. Which means that we need 5 more encounters for the bottom result, for the middle result, than the top or bottom ones. Plus, you can combine numbers. You don't need to fill 11 slots. That's correct. That is 100% correct. So, what do we like as unlikely encounters? What do we like as any kind of encounters for the West Forest? Well, we know there are kobolds in here, right? So already, that simple premise, we'll stick a kobold refugee encounter here. We're going to call them, we might not call them kobold refugees. Vagabonds. Because you fight through the Gex dungeon at the start. So you're gonna stick those guys somewhere in here as they don't have a home anymore. What else do we have? We've got the Druid Grove, right? Am I getting RuneScape comments? Don't bring that evil here, God. What website or program are you using here? This is Photo Viewer. It is looking at a Photoshop file I made. This is Obsidian. If you're not familiar with Obsidian, we've made a video about Obsidian before. 2 of them. Here they are. Check them out, and then you'll know what I'm doing. So, somebody keeps texting me. I don't know if I click on Discord, it opens on the wrong screen. Oh yeah, those are the dice. Yeah. That makes sense. So, God, one of these days I'll know which button does what. What else we got? Well, we have the wizard. We have whatever the contest winners are going to put in here. So it could be anything. Giant bees. You know, Giannis. When you're right, you're right. Giant bees. I just think I'm going to put in giant animals. I don't think we need to specify giant bees. Bay encounter, right? That makes sense to me. Hiko Hunter. Observe. This bottom one explains what's going on. Cookie Dude, it's Photoshop. Come on, folks. How many times do you get asked about Obsidian to need quick access to your videos? About 8 times a stream. Fey encounter. What else? What are some fun things? Well, owlbear, obviously. Owlbear. Satyr? Yeah, we have the Satyr's Rest in here. Yes, Hiko Hunter. It's linked in the description. Hi, SJ Warhammer. Don't start from the beginning. No. It's fine. Just stay. Can all encounters of a type be social encounters? Yes, Aerodos. You got to go watch the random encounter video we did. These are all the things we talk about in there. But in that video, we talk about the idea that when you do a random encounter... Actually, hang on. I have a tab open. Stand by. I knew you'd be here. I knew you'd be here, Aerodos. Check it. Check it out. This is from our hexploration. This is from our hexploration document. That's on the Patreon. But this text here is basically ripped entirely from the random encounter script video, like video script. And what do? We build a random encounter table. 2d6, clerics, undead. Encounter number 6, wolves. How do we use it? 6, wolves. Hey, there are some wolves. Each of the beasts bears a mark of Strahd, so that there is something to discover when you're done with the encounter. The pack consists mostly of wolves, but there might be dire wolves or a werewolf pack leader, and if the party is particularly high level, consider adding a dire warg. So now, this encounter isn't just wolves. It's wolves, also wolves with werewolf, also wolves with dire warg, also wolves with the paw that leads you to Strahd. Also, alternatively, they might find a single wounded wolf pup. A character could, with a successful animal handling check, endear the wolf to themselves. This might lead to them becoming a sidekick. So this isn't saying, here are all the rules for everything you could do with this wolf encounter. It's a spark table. This table is only here to get you, the Dungeon Master, excited about whatever you're doing. She's okay. So it's only in here because you're trying to get, you get a result, you go, wolves. Ah, okay. We just did an encounter. Because whenever you're prepping and whenever you're running, those are 2 different people. That's Prep DM and Running DM. Those are 2 different folks. Prep DM can only create an arsenal and a toolkit. Running DM has to read the vibes. They have to listen to the table and they have to think, what would be good right now? What would be fun? If I throw a wolf pack on the table, will they all sigh and go on their phones? Or will they go, yes, something to do? If the latter, you're doing an encounter. If they're low level, it's 2 wolves. If they're high level, like 9th level, It's a couple of werewolves, a dire warg, a lugaroo, you know, and now it's a huge encounter. That's a lot of fun. If you're thinking, you know what, they're not in the mood for combat. We just did one. We just did a combat. They just came out of a dungeon crawl. And if I throw a combat on them now against some wolves, they might die. And maybe you've had sessions here, you've talked to your players, and it turns out your players would hate it if they died to a random wolf encounter. So, don't do the encounter. Have them find the wolf pup. Now this random encounter table it's not a random combat table. It's a random encounter table, right? Those are not interchangeable. It's an encounter of some kind. And here you've got a random roleplay encounter in there as well. Train the wolf. So that is what the purpose of the table is. It is to create these little sort of 3-paragraph sections that we can then use to go regular fight, plot hook, bigger fight, roleplay. You get it? That's what we're doing. That's what we gotta do a bunch of these. We're gonna make an adventure whole smacking full of this. It's gonna be a lot of work. So, owlbear is just one thing, but if it's a 9, it's probably fine. Maybe it belongs as a 10. Hell, we can even put in bear owl. Why not? Or maybe that's just one thing. Owlbear, bear owl. At some point later, I'll edit this down and make it make sense. Yes, Eco Hunter. Yes, that is exactly what I said. Because that way, you aren't screwing over whoever runs the game. Even if it's you. When you're prep DM, you can create the arsenal that's going to make the running DM chill. They're going to get the result and they're going to go, okay. Let's do the wolf. You just roll a dice every X distance, see what you get? No. Guys. I gotta go get the video. You gotta go off watch our random encounter video. No, you can roll a die at the end of every day. At the start of the day, the DM rolls for random encounters by rolling a d6. On a 6, in the wilderness, that's an encounter. If it's a dangerous area, 5 or 6. If it's a very, very dangerous area, 4, 5, 6. Then you can roll for who spots who, when does it happen. You can roll for how difficult the encounter is going to be. These are meant to spark your interest. And it's not X distant travel, except insofar as it is, you could do it per hex. I think per hex is kind of insane, because that, like, if you roll per hex, and you've got 3-mile hexes, that means that going fast, you're 8 times likelier to encounter a monster. Does that make sense? I don't think it does. I don't think me speeding over the terrain means that I'm just constantly getting fly swatted with wolves that are like bashing me in the face. That seems crazy to me. No, you just roll for the night. Abandoned village. Let's put in like lost humans. Dwarf loggers. Maybe. We've got a whole logging thing. I don't know if it belongs on this table. Table needs some humans. Yeah, I agree. Loggers. Yeah. Lost humans. I like that idea. What else is on here? We're probably going to be moving these around whenever I do the final version. Giant. Yes, let's do a giant. I think a hill giant would just belong. Like straight up. Oh, good enough. Thank you so much. Yeah, I agree. Fuck the patriarchy. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That's super appreciated. That's gonna go right into our equipment war chest. I've been trying to convince AP that we should get a drone and do videos out in the wild. Good nod, thank you. Kidding about the drone. Well, maybe. What if we did like a hexcrawl video, but we were like in the Icelandic Highlands? Wouldn't that be awesome? Undead, yes, undead, 100%. Let's move. Let's make some space for undead. Let's move them down. Undead. That should be the most common thing on here. Troll, 100%. Troll's a great idea. Wow, 7 players. Ricochet, that's a lot. I hope you're having fun though. I genuinely, this is the most fun you can have. Blights. Yeah. Yeah. Let's put the lost humans on the bottom. I feel like they should get scary as they go up. I think the lost humans could be a combat encounter. But I think it's more implicitly like, hey, you saved someone. Blights. Blights, yes, we can do blights. Mushrooms. I think we're going to have the fungal wanderers here. I think that's going to cover us. Any tips for balancing combat with so many players? You got to max hit points. You just got to have more hit points. Genuinely, every monster has listed Ricochet. They have listed average hit points. And then in brackets, like their hit dice and their con modifier. Figure out what the max is. It's usually about like 50% higher than it currently is. Stick that on there. Don't think twice about it. When I'm doing boss monsters and there are 7 players at my table, the hit points are the mythic phase, and then I just start again. The amount of times where my players have reduced something to 0 hit points, and I then go, okay, it's bloodied. Insane. Because there are so many of them, and they do so much damage. And one player is doing 50, 60 damage, and then it's 6 other players' turn. Yeah. You just gotta, those things are balanced for 4 to 5 anyway. Oh, blights are not SRDs, says Magnus. Hang on, let's have a look. Let's have a look at that. No, blight the spell is, but not blight the monster. So we'd have to invent them if we're doing blights, which might be a lot actually. We have no kobolds in this encounter, in this entire adventure. No goblins. We have kobolds. We have no goblins anywhere, and we have made our own goblins. So I think we should stick goblins in here. Add them to the table. I think that means we need to find the place where the goblin boss is, and I think each of these should have a thing like or not each, but like some of them should have a thing of like, if you've done this dungeon, this encounter doesn't happen. And the table just gets easier. Right? I think there's nothing wrong with the idea of just going, hey, it just got easier. Like it's not. You're now having a better time doing this than you would have otherwise. Ogre and a donkey got tricked into leaving his home by a hag. I think that's a good idea. I think the East Forest encounter table should be full of that stuff. How do the kobolds feel about the goblins? I probably don't like them, but I have a hard time seeing that mattering. Many Teeth tribe, yeah, they're on the East Forest side. We changed the Many Teeth tribe to orcs. We talked about them being goblins originally, but I think we changed them to orcs because one of the player characters is going to be an orc, and we like the idea of there being a connection between those two. What are the differences between the two forests? Well, not a lot. They are here separated mostly just by the train tracks and Dilhorn, and they were originally the same forest. But in the East Forest, you don't have as much of the, like, you don't have the mushroom area here, so I don't think the mushroom thing shows up on the table. The hag is in the East Forest. The rats are in the East Forest. The werewolves are here, and the orcs. So I mean, that's what we're putting down, right? Orcs, werewolf. Sorry, werewolf doesn't go here. Werewolf goes here. Rats. Actually, let's rat vermin. Rodents of unusual size. There you go, folks. Lotus, yes, it's obsidian. These videos explain how it's obsidian. Homeless ogre with donkey. That might be too specific, but it maybe not if it's down here, you know? I think it's also cool if we just have a thing here be buried treasure. Maybe then we stick the goblins on the other side. Fairy Spring, Red Rocks, Giant's Corpse. We could put a giant on this side as well. How do you distribute your encounters across 2d6? Harder at low rolls, more social encounters at high rolls. I do it the other way around. Hey, thanks for dropping by, Gunnar. I appreciate you showing up. This has been just lovely having you. And go screw the patriarchy. So players want to avoid high rolls. In this case, yes, but I tend to roll these. So I tend to say, ooh, I just got a 12. And that way it gets the same response for them. Right? Now, if I have the players rolling, we do it the other way around. It was a goblin tribe, and we changed it. We changed it to orcs. The Moonstone Grove hosts werewolves, which is why they're here. I think the goblins might be better on this table. And I'm just going to put in... Now, do you folks think we should swap these around? If you think so, we'll do it. Which result is bad, high or low? Is getting high result a scary encounter, or is getting low result a scary encounter? What do you think? Because if you think we should swap these around, as in low bad, then let me know and we'll swap them around. Because that makes sense to me, right? Ah, curious. This is about 50-50. I don't know why that surprises me. It's literally just a preference thing with neither having any particular meaning. But low is winning out. High equals recharge breath weapon, so bad. See, that's what I'm thinking. Whenever I ask, this is Unknown's one of my players, whenever I ask them to roll for me 1d6, they know high is bad, because they're like, oh, I'm rolling the DM's dice now, right? So that's bad, I don't want that. Easier encounters in the middle. Yes, I think that's probably correct, but not necessarily easier, just most common. High is bad, so you can add a plus for night. The referee Connor makes an excellent point. High is bad because that way you add a modifier if you're at night. So you get a, hey, it's the middle of the night, you get a +1 on the encounter table. Common doesn't mean easy. Yeah, I agree. +1 for twilight, +2 for night. Does that change your mind, folks? Do I get to keep it as high? You can add a negative modifier, yes, but you never really add. You never really subtract in D&D. In modern D&D, at least. Will you have me drawn and quartered if I end the poll at low, even if it's at 51%, and I decide to ignore you? I'm taking the risk. I'm going to keep it the way it is. If you don't like it, you can write to my manager at help@apple.com. So, pixies. Why not? Uh, 12. Ag. Makes sense to me. 9 wolves. Why not? Why not wolves? Now with the swamp, I think I'm going to do it the way we talked about at the start. If you remember at the start, and I'm going to really quickly re-summarize. At the start, we talked about the way we did it in the haunted house adventure we wrote for broadsheet number 2. We did hauntings. Let me go find the page. Here's the haunting table. You can see it's got a D8 table for different kinds of hauntings, and if you get a repeat, you get a worse table called Phantom Events, and that one scales. I think we're going to do that for the swamp itself, right? I think we're going to have a D8 table for the swamp, and if you get repeats on it, you go over to the really bad list of encounters. So, this year is going to say one date. And that's scaling events. We're just can I not just do a hashtag? Is that not allowed? There we go. And there's going to be 4 or 3? 3 probably. That's right, everybody. The contest is open until this stream ends. Are the broadsheets something from your Patreon? Yes, let me talk about the broadsheets for a second. The broadsheet is a digital magazine that we make every month. Asterisk, Sometimes we take a month off. For instance, in May, we won't be doing an issue of the broadsheet because we'll be doing Crown of the Fungal Queen, which will be available for all adepts, even though it's way bigger and chunkier than anything we've done before. It's just going to be available for all adepts. And the broadsheet is my setting. Here's the art. This is Blackguard. You can see the big city and then this massive tower. That's the Obsidian Palace. And inside every issue of the broadsheet, there are 3 chapters. Chapter 1 is an adventure that is written out over the course of like about 10 pages. Asterisk, except issue 4. Sometimes we do something special. In issue 4, it was a mega dungeon that you create as you play. Chapter 2 has a Borough Gazetteer, which is like, hey, here is a particular neighborhood from my mega city. And these neighborhoods are huge. They're cities in and of themselves. And then all of them, 31 of them, are the entirety of Blackguard. And then 3 in the 3rd chapter, you either get some extra lore about my setting, or in the last several issues, you've gotten player-facing rules such as subclasses, species, and in the issue that just came out, backgrounds. So you can now create a character with an Atroxian background, species, and subclass. Hell, you could even go grab the Warlord, which is also on the Patreon, have an Atroxian class. And it's a lot of work. We're incredibly proud of it. Each issue is around 40 pages, except for the first few, which were a bit longer, just because we had a lot of stuff that we needed to explain right at the top, going, hey, here's what this setting is and stuff like that. This is the greatest thing I get to make. I make it with my friends, and we all work on it together. And no, Jay, there's no broadsheet in May, but there is Crown of the Fungal Queen. And Crown of the Fungal Queen is going to be like 2 or 3 issues of the broadsheet in one. Which we could not do a broadsheet in the same month. In fact, we've been cheating. We've been working on the Crown of the Fungal Queen for several months now. And Brimrun's finished all her art for the last month's broadsheet 2 months ago, so that she could be working on Fungal Queen. It's going to be the biggest thing we've done so far. And it's going to have references to Blackguard. It's going to be tied in. Eventually everything we do is going to be a part of the same sort of setting. Really, the patch for the Nulton Estate make an entire level. Here's what you do, Mitchell. You get the apparitions, summon 2d4 of them, and then just have them do double the damage. Keep the hit points the same, the AC the same, double the damage, double the summons. That should be enough. If you need to, you can also buff the Phantom by doubling its hit points. If you're not familiar with Mitchell's one of the biggest fans of the broadsheet and has run a whole bunch of it. So if you're on the Discord, you can find Llama Man on there and ask him questions. He probably knows the answers and is probably quicker at getting you an answer than I am. Tie-ins are good. Yeah. I think Dilhorn starts off with you coming from Blackguard, which is funny because the Night Train, the first adventure in Blackguard, starts off with you coming from Dilhorn. So you can run them either way. And maybe Mitchell will do a little, hey, here's how you scale up one way or the other. Thanks, Thomas. Thank you so much. Yeah, Emergent, we'll probably end up doing a contest again in May next year, although we're probably going to run it differently. Just because we've learned a lot through doing this. Including, oh my god, how many submissions we've gotten. I think we're getting close to 100 as we're closing this thing out. Sorry? There's more than 100 submissions for the Dungeon Jam. What? AB tells me we are closer to 200 submissions for Dungeon Mayhem. And I've taken a look at some of them already. We've begun the process of sorting it. The moderators are being very helpful in scrubbing all the names because I don't want to know who sent what. I just want to judge them based on design. And they are incredible. The ones I've looked at are like, there are boutique maps in there and folks have done like diagrams and some have just come up with brilliant pitches and they're quite a bit of work to like make a dungeon, but they are so creative. So, I'm fascinated and I think it's really cool. I think next year we're probably going to want to do it some other way so that more people get more of their work shown. But for now, this is what we thought of, and I'm amazed at the amount of stuff and the amount of creativity in this community. I don't know why I am. I shouldn't be amazed. I've always known this about you people. You are incredibly creative. You don't need me. You're all doing stuff all on your own. All right. Swamp. These, we don't need to scale in any way, but we can put the scariest thing up top if we want. But I think the scaling encounters, so this list here, is going to be the actual thing. And this third one is wave combat. So if you get 3 repeats on this table, you get wave combat, which is just you get barraged like forever. We'll figure out exactly how that's going to work, but I think that's just how it is. Just a monster or something? Yeah, that might be cool. What are we building now? We are building the final random encounter table, the one for the swamp. Swamp. This one's going to be a D8 table, and if you get repeats on this table, you get to this list. So here, everything is just a unique thing you can do in a swamp. What is the status of lizard folk and UNT in the setting? Could make for some interesting swamp encounters. That's true. That is true. Black dragon. I do have a lovely bit of stock art of a green dragon, but it's like massive. We could put a green dragon on here and then have it be not an encounter. But if the players are max level 4 going through the swamp, which is kind of how we designed it, a dragon of the size that I have in the stock art would just murder them. Bullywugs. Yes, we can do bullywugs. We could also do the lizard folk. Hang on, let me go search the SRD for bullywugs. I cannot bullywug. I can boggart. But they kind of need to just be like... This is the swamp at the heart of the forest where the final dungeon is. So like if we're introducing lizardmen here, that is kind of the end. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, and now lizardmen, which is, I think, a little odd. Now, let's have a little look at the stuff we've done before. West Forest, East Forest. Wow, we've done incredible work on this, folks. I remember we were starting this. We were just sort of writing random nonsense down. Dragon Wormling. Audiug? We can do an Audiug. Thinky Poop Monster. I fucking love Audiugs. Crocodile. Yeah. Big crocodile. That's cool. Dragons are fun social encounters if they're younger. Yeah. Yeah, Lemon, we'll do that. We'll absolutely do that. Shambling Mounds. 100%. Are they open? Shambling Mounds open. Awesome. We can do that. Satyr? We can do Satyr. Will-O-Wisp. Hang on. Should we save that for one of the scary ones? A cryptid that would fit? We do. We do have a Wendigo. But I don't know. We could replace. Let me just make a note of that. Scared grunting. Wendigo. Everything open here. I just realized all the goodies you get from the broadsheets. Nobody look. We could do a small lizard folk encounter. Actually, let's then do them as one of the scaling things. I could be tricksy with the Will-O-Wisp. I was just thinking that. What if we do the Will-O-Wisp and the Shambling Mound? Razor Reeds. That's cool. Also, Sturgis. Aquatic Ghoul. Lacedon Ghoul. Yeah, which ghouls are open? I don't think the Lacedon Ghoul is. It's not, but we could do a ghoul. Oh, hi, Scarlet Road. Thank you so much. Good luck to everyone. I know, right? It's kind of devastating. I'm really anxious because with so many submissions, there are so many people I'm disappointing. I'm letting down. But next time I want to do it so that more people can win. We'll figure out how to do that. Thank you so much, Scarlet Road. Thank you. Razor Reeds. Honestly, we could just do D6. Just hazards. Like, what are the, you sink, sinky puddle, They have to be tied to the main dungeon, where non-escalations can be more unique. You're right. You are right. Norplay. It lives in the filth of civilization. I think there can be filth of civilization in the swamp. I think that's okay. Maybe you folks disagree. Quicksand, that's the one I'm looking for. So then let's do Lizard Folk Tribe here. And then let's do Ghoulghast here. Because then the escalations are going to be Assassin Vine. Or what's the Flytrap? Giant Toad. I love giant toads. We're still going. Quicksand ooze. We could also just turn this into a D12 table. Take these. You know what I mean? And just... just like that. 9, 10, 11, 12. What is, like, Sturges? But I'm also thinking just, like... Can we just do, like, a... What's that thing Pippin is batting off of his face in the... Not in the Dead Marshes. In the other marshes. Swarm of hobbit eating flies. You know what I mean. Because then we don't need this, and then we just have the escalations. Night again? We could do a night again. And then mushroom beasts. You guys want to replace the Audiook? Locusts, mosquito, leeches, yeah, like all of this work. Mosquito just feels like, I don't know, it's got to be like magic mosquito, but that's a sturge, isn't it? Weta bugs. It could, actually, you might be right. Let me just go Google this. I don't know. We'll find something. I don't think it needs to be like, I think we can invent it. Audiook is fine. Can we shove the Audiook into another encounter? We could. I just love an Audiook. Because we could totally stick them somewhere else. We could also just have there be a list of fun singular encounters here. Audio Wendigo. Lone hunter lizard folk. You know? And then there's just 3 things that we can do in here as an extra sort of thing for us to have fun with. Froghemoth? You can't do a mini froghemoth. That's just a frog. The hemoth is the scale. Alright, we're 1 short, everybody. 1 short. Giant toad. Oh, the ghouls. We're going to put the ghouls back in here. There we go. There we go. Aha. Done. Hang on, let me go through the list. East Forest. We got 2 entries of buried and lost treasure. Or lesser and greater treasure, right? Pixies, goblins, rodents of unusual size, orcs, rat vermin, wolves, a lone werewolf, a homeless ogre with a donkey, and a hag. And we got the lost humans, giant animals, kobold vagabonds, fungal wanderers, undead, some fey encounter, owlbear, bear owl, trolls, hill giant. And then for stuff that we think is going to be common, we can stick them up like this. We can create special rules in them, like rolling consecutives. But we can also have there be, hey, if you get the same thing too many times, pick these escalating encounters. We're going to stick here at the top. Right? Then we can do the swamp. And the swamp one is going to have just a list of unconnected encounters. And you can do them in any order, right? They're not escalating. They're not more or less common. But if you get a repeat there, you go to the scaling events. And this list of scaling events is ticking down until you inevitably fight a wave of zombies. And I'm going to take the ghouls, I'm going to put them back here, and I'm going to find something else to put here, because I need it. I need 1 more swampy monster. And I am perfectly okay to write down Otyuk. No, I don't. Norplay is correct. Norplay got to me. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Trying to think of just sort of a classic monster. Hey, let's put a mimic in here. Mud Mephit, that's better. Way better. Mud Mephit, sold. 10 out of 10. Oh, the vine is an SRD. Okay. Alright, we're doing that. Bam. Bam. Shang-a-lang. And there you have it. There you have it. Hydra, Magnus, but somebody said Hydra now. Somebody said Hydra, Magnus. Can we put a Hydra in here? Can we can put a little Hydra as a treat, right? Look, I did it. I did it. It's D12 again. And now everybody has gotten a deep insight into mine and Magnus's editing and writing relationship. I overshoot the scope. He trims, and then I overshoot it again. Except on this project, he continues to overshoot the scope. He was like, what if we give everyone a special level up condition? I was like, why? And he's like, it would be so much cooler. And I was like, yeah. Poor Mud Mephit. We'll find a place for the Mud Mephit. There's a sticky puddle here somewhere. We'll put the Mud Mephits there. Hell, we might even take the Hydra and put it there, I'll be honest. That's been fun. So here it is. This is kind of different ways you can take a wilderness and make it exciting. And the one we didn't talk about, by the way, is how we're going to make Dilhorn exciting, which we're going to just have 4 scaling encounters. The first one is when you get to Dilhorn for the first time, and the last one is when Dilhorn is in critical danger, and the ones in between are going to be scaling that difference, right? They're going to go, and they're up to the DM, because the DM is using them. These are different tools. The one in Dilhorn, just 4 scaling encounters, no randomness, no die rolls, because the DM is going to be using them to take the scale of the adventure and sort of put it into gear, make it more scary, make it more intense, right? But then, when you get to the East Forest and the West Forest, we're going to have a random encounter table. It's going to have a bell curve of possibilities, with a median curve being most likely. And in that median curve, we're going to put lots of different kinds of encounters so that a DM can get the median encounter and be excited about it every time. We're also going to put in roleplay options. We're going to put in a different kind of loots and things you can get. Loots. And finally, when you get to the swamp, we want to be raising the tension. So we're going to have you roll every day. We're going to have you roll, I think it's probably going to be 4, 5, 6 is going to get a random encounter. And then, if you get repeats, which might happen immediately, you might on day 5 be unable to progress unless you deal with wave combats. And I think wave combat's just going to be pick a random hour of the day. On that hour, roll for initiative, wave combat. Do this until the players have finished the dungeon, because the swamp is going to become their own Vietnam. It's going to become hell, because the players are going to have to go through the Canopy Breach's own domain. It's going to be scary. It's going to be intense. And I think that's just so fun. And I think you can use these different tools to tell different kinds of stories. When we were talking about random encounters on Discord the other day, lots of folks had opinions on it, which is fantastic. Obviously, you should have opinions on this stuff. And a lot of their opinions were based on, as far as I could tell, preference. They were like, I think A is better than B. And I have, at many times in my life, had that kind of preference towards a specific version of a mechanic. Just blanket. Just like, I think it is better if you author encounters. I think it's better if you do not randomly roll encounters. Or I think wandering monsters are essential to doing this, to running D&D. And see, watch your DM. Not so easy, is it? I think sorry, to go back to the point. I think it's fascinating, because the thing I keep learning with different kinds of random encounters is that, or whether you roll, whether you not roll, is that it's different tools for different jobs. I'm going to author 4 different kinds of encounters for Dilhorn, because that's what I think Dilhorn needs. I think it needs an escalating tension that is going to be up to the DM to place on top of the adventure. I think the forest as a whole needs a median encounter that you're most likely to get, and versions of it. And everything else is going to be up for fun and different variations. Some of them are going to be rare, some of them not, right? And then I think the swamp needs a ticking clock that gets more and more and more and more and more and more and more intense. And those are different tools for different jobs. And maybe you don't like those jobs. Maybe you're like, I don't think that's very fun. That's perfectly fair. I won't argue with that one. But I think it's worth thinking about, what are you trying to achieve? What mechanic allows you to achieve that the best way, the fastest way, the easiest way, and what gets you across that finish line? Because when we made a couple of videos now talking about DM styles, and I think it's very interesting to talk about DM styles, but I also think it's very almost kind of dangerous to believe that you belong in a specific style, as opposed to the game you're currently running belonging in a different style. Because I think I'd only been running D&D and RPGs in general for about 4 or 5 years, when every game was wildly different than the last, because I wanted to try all the styles. I wanted to learn everything. I wanted to see, what if I don't have a DM screen? What if I do have a DM screen? What if I run everything out of the book? What if I run everything with tech and computers in front of me? And what if I have nothing and I just run them physically? What if I roll always in front of the players? What if I don't? What if I roll for random encounters? What if I author everything? What if every section is a hack and slash dungeon, right? I just play around with it. I just play. And I think that's... I think it's healthiest when you don't ascribe yourself a specific style. I don't, and you see a lot of artists do this, like directors and stuff. People are like, "What kind of movies do you make?" And they're like, "Hey, that's for other people to decide." And that's sort of where I've come down on DM styles. And ever since I made that video, I've gotten all kinds of text messages from people I respect, trying to sort of pinpoint where they think I am. And I think it's fascinating to read their responses, and I really enjoy getting those messages. But I've never accepted their answers. I've never been like, "You're right," because every time I'm like, I think that's your opinion. I don't know. I like random encounters, and I think they're especially useful if you're doing a published adventure and you're going, "Hey DM, here's what's cool about this place," and plenty of people who want random encounters will be happy that it's here, and the people who don't will be happy that I made up some encounters, and they'll use the ones they like. Both worlds win, which is why you usually see them in modules like this. Yeah, exactly, Mitchell. Yeah. It's the freaking creators of D&D. Yeah. Mike Merle's said the opinions as well, and lots of D&D YouTubers and stuff. Yeah, categorizing things belongs to the consumer. I agree. Completely agree. Yeah, no trogs, sadly. Well, I think we're coming up on the end here. I just wanted to make a quick little video talking about, quick little live stream talking about random encounters. We made a whole list here. It's going to be up to me now to take each of these entries and make a more detailed entry on it. That's something I'm not going to be able to do with you folks here. I'm going to put on my favorite TV show or movie or something, and I'm going to start typing my way through this at a furious pace. And yeah, if you want to see the kind of stuff we do, if you want to see what this looks like when it's all finished, come check out our Patreon. Come check out the stuff we do on there. We have this thing called the Broadsheet, which I've already mentioned once this stream. And one of the biggest reasons we do this streams is so I can talk to you about the Broadsheet and how it is making it. The latest issue has a bunch of player options in it, including backgrounds. Let me go open that up and show you. These are some of the backgrounds you get if you come join the Patreon at the Adept tier, or you buy this issue at the price of an Adept subscription. Here you go. These are Atroxian backgrounds. Bonk. Scale up. I'm gonna move. Hang on. Where do I need to be? I'll be down here. Maybe I'll be up here. I don't know. What if I'm just sort of like a little slice of a person here? Hello. This is the broadsheet. Here you can see the Fusilier background, the aristocrat background, and you can see that they all come with their own sort of little blurb about what they are and the lore, what they are in this setting, but they also come with their own origin feat. The figurehead gets stiff upper lip and head held high. The Fusilier gets firearm training. Obviously, you want to grab the firearm tools, firearm rules to use. And there they are. Is the figurehead fixed? No, we're gonna have to fix it sometime this week. We're gonna plug it in. There's a little loophole, everybody, that lets you do it sort of indefinitely. There are 8 more of these. I'm not going to show them all on stream, but if you want 8 backgrounds with 8 different origin feats, they're all available as a part of the broadsheet. And that's where we're going to pick it up next time. This channel is run by me and my girlfriend, and if you want to support us directly, come check out our Patreon and join us at one of our 5 different tiers, including one of which, if you want to watch us make an actual play... Hang on, I'm trying to find a button. Button? And this button? No. This button. If you want to watch our actual play, you can come join us at the Journeyman or at the Expert tier, and there are 5 episodes already out of an unedited actual play that we made for you folks that you can come check out there before it goes live on YouTube. Once we're done editing it, put music and all that sort of stuff on it, it'll go live on YouTube, but right now it's only available on the Patreon in early access. Thank you so much for those gifted memberships, man. And that's where we're going to pick it up next time. If you're feeling especially generous, don't do any of the things I just said. All you have to do is like the video and comment. And that's going to be way more than enough for me. Go click subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when we release new videos. And until next time, you should keep studying the mystic arts. Keep studying the mystic arts.